You sick of me yet, Ron?
No, no.
Ron and Ed,
That's
how are we doing today?
great, Jordan. How are you?
Doing well.
It's
This is
just
all we
us.
got. This is
This is
all
all
we
we
got
got.
today. No
Greg's
Greg
no Greg. He's in Italy or something.
on his way. I think on his way.
On his way.
Awesome, awesome. Let me go ahead and get some levels for everybody real quick. I'll start with you, Ron. Can I please get a count back from 5?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Awesome, sounds great. And Ed, can I please get a count back from 5?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. And real quick, Ed, it does sound a little roomy on you. Are you able just to bring your microphone just a little bit closer?
Yeah. Sure. How's that?
And then let me get another count back, please.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, much better there. Thank you.
Okay.
We got about
Ed.
3 minutes here.
Okay. Ed, your meta commercials are still running.
Oh yeah, Jordan.
Yeah.
Don't run the meta commercial. I don't know what it's called, but don't run it.
All right.
Yeah, just take that out of the
one in each break, but I can't remember. But yeah, it's the one that Ed does in his voice.
Yeah, just
All
don't
right,
run that one anymore.
It's usually on the last break.
No, I think it's the last one in every break.
All right.
Yeah.
I think.
All right. I'll make sure to make a note of it and pull those.
Okay. Thanks. Yep. We got to do that. This is another thing we got to add to the list of stuff to do.
Make a commercial, huh? Yeah. No shout outs, and next week is Dr. Singer.
Yeah. Excited for that one. I'm excited for them all, but
I read his book. I like it. It's very good.
he's very libertarian.
Very much so.
Did I do a preview for him? Let's see. I may not have.
I thought you did. I thought I saw something come
I
through.
think I may have done it, but episodes. No, I did not.
No.
Okay. Which is that's actually what I have listed here, but I did do just say Jackie. Yep. Barry. Yep. Nick. Yep. Okay.
About 1 minute. About 20 seconds till we go live.
All right.
All right, you ready for your counting?
You bet.
All right, have a great show. Going in
Thanks.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the Soul of Enterprise, Business and the Transformation Economy, sponsored by Woodard, building your ideal practice with coaching, education, community, and resources. I'm Ron Baker, along with my good friend and Threshold colleague, Ed Kless. On today's show, folks, we're doing, what are we doing, Ed?
What's the matter? Omnium Gatherum. Omnium Gatherum. Yeah, it's like an encyclical. It's yet another word for hodgepodge of crap. So there you go. We got a lot of stuff to do.
Yes, we do. My stack is bulging. I got all, and it is literally a hodgepodge. So let me just dive in. This is a follow-up on a story that I talked about the cancer drug dostarlimab. and it was saying that it was correcting cancer in an unbelievable percentage of cases. 24-month survival rate, 61.4%. It achieved 100% clinical complete response in 42 patients. It is for rectal cancer. I wasn't sure what it was, so when I asked Perplexity to give me a rundown on it, and it is for rectal cancer. Now, it's a small sample size. It is still in phase 2 trials. It needs to move into phase 3 trials before it gets approved, so it's not approved, but it showed pretty darn promising results, so I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, it's really neat. What is it? Was there anything connection to AI in that one, Ron?
I believe there was. I think I think it was. It was a mismatch repair deficient microsatellite. You should read this thing, Ed. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yes, I do believe AI had played a role in discovering some of this. So yeah, it looks really interesting. But there you go.
Well, I have two things on the iPhone here, and excuse me. What's bizarre is they're 10 days apart, and of course, with the absolute insanity that is Washington D.C. policy, these are almost opposite sides of the spectrum. But the first one is a story from Apple News, actually the Wall Street Journal, I should say, is that, and this was that Apple is considering raising the prices on its iPhone, but not blaming tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I thought was a real interesting approach, right? We've always said, don't blame this. This is what you should be, as the company, you should be seeing this. Although I think everybody would more than understand if they blame tariffs for it. But that was, I mean, this hasn't been announced, but this is what has been released. So these are set to be released in the fall with some format changes, including an ultra thin design that's been reported. Tim Cook is facing some pressure over the U.S.-China deal, which threatens Apple's supply chain, which I listened to a podcast that talked about this, Ron, and I think you may have as well. Yes. It is inextricably linked to this. The notion that we can bring back jobs is completely insane about this.
Delusional. It's delusional.
Well, let's pair that up with what got released today from Trump Jun-il, or
yes, with his Juche philosophy.
Yes, because this is just complete insanity. He has come across and said that he is going to threaten a 25% tax. He called it a tax, not a tariff, but a tax on foreign-made iPhones. Yep. And it's straight out, just if they're not made in the United States. He's like, it doesn't matter if it's coming from India, it doesn't matter if it's coming from Venezuela, the island that just has the penguins on it. He doesn't. If the iPhone isn't made in the United States, he's going to slap a 25% tax on it. And here's the crazy part: that's probably cheaper.
Yeah.
Than actually bringing the entire manufacturing process back to the United States. That is probably significantly cheaper.
Ed, from what I understand, the Foxconn campus that assembles those things are huge. People sleep there. I don't think we could do it land use regulation wise anywhere. Mm-hmm. You know, just getting the zoning for something like that, let alone trying to find the workers that are willing to work, at a facility like that. I know he tweeted, I have long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple that I expect their iPhones that will be sold in the U.S. to be manufactured and built in the U.S., not India or any place else. If that is not the case, a tariff of at least 25% must be paid by Apple to the U.S. And then he also put he wants a 50% tariff on the EU. He said the EU, their powerful trade barriers, VAT taxes, ridiculous corporate penalties, non-monetary trade barriers, monetary manipulation, unfair and unjustified lawsuits against American companies. That I do agree with.
Yes.
No, but it has nothing to do with tariffs.
Tariffs.
And more have led to a trade deficit with the U.S. of more than 250, I think it's $1 million a year, a number which is totally unacceptable. Our discussions with them are going nowhere. But I thought he was a great negotiator. I mean, this is insanity. This is just insanity. There's that court case winding through. Have you been following that? Saying that he doesn't have the emergency powers to do this because trade deficits have been around for a long time, back and forth, and wasn't there just a ruling on that, or maybe the court is hearing the case?
Hearing the case. No, I don't think they've heard that there's been any rulings on any of the tariff stuff yet. There have been on the extraditions or of the immigrants.
Right. But I know there is a case being brought, but I don't see anything happening with it. But yeah, I mean, this is just insane. And this idea that the VAT tax that they have in the EU and other countries is a non-trade barrier is insane. It's a sales tax. Crying out loud. We do the same thing in almost every state in this country.
Yes. And oh, by the way, we recognize that as being a tax on us,
on the consumer,
on the consumer, which is all this would be if it went into effect, because it would be national. I mean, and I don't know if we mentioned this in the tariff show, but it's effectively tariffs are just national sales taxes. That's all they are.
Yeah. And not very efficient, and very distortive, and have all sorts of knock-on effects that are deleterious, like lack of innovation, and lessens competition, so companies get better. I mean, if we would have had tariffs in the 70s and 80s on foreign car manufacturing, and even though Reagan did put some quotas on Japan and all of that, if we would have done Trump-style tariffs, then our auto industry would have just been a nightmare.
Yeah.
It got better because of that, of that foreign competition. And we lose out on all that innovation.
Now, I have to think, though, I mean, and, we've been through Wicker v. Philbin enough to know that my belief on the U.S. Constitution is relatively low, because Winston Churchill can be a turnip, according to Wicker v. Philbin, because it was not interstate, it was not commerce, and yet it was tax, and it was interstate commerce. But I got to think that isn't there a provision in tax law that says you can't put a tax on a particular company?
Yes. You have to,
or even a product. Like, I mean, I think you can say on mobile phones, right? Or smartphones. You can't say on Apple iPhones. I don't think.
Yes. And yes, because it's supposed to be proportionate and all of that. You know how they do that. They say, well, we're only going to tax wineries that have, vineyards in a certain location or of a certain size or whatever.
Yes.
And there's all sorts of games played like that. But yeah, no, I mean, he's picking out a particular company. It's ridiculous. I don't get it.
And Tim was even at the inauguration. He was even one of the ones that came and kowtowed.
Donated $1 million to it.
I know.
And yes, and his $500 billion pledge to spend in the U.S. That's all funny money.
Oh, it is.
How do they count that? Give me a break. So frustrating. I'm so sick of the tariff back and forth every day. I meant to put this with the cancer drug update because Dilbert, Scott Adams.
Yes.
Doesn't think he'll live through the summer.
Yeah.
It's really sad. I mean, Dilbert, I wasn't a huge fan, but it had some funny strips. There's
one particular line that I use on a regular basis. It was, that this one of the guys comes in and they tell him he's no longer participating in the payroll program. He's like, do you mean I'm fired? Like, no. You can come in if you want. You're just no longer going to participate in the payroll program.
Hysterical. He did write a couple of good books too, not just the one on the superpower, and Trump win bigly, but
Think bigly. Yeah,
Think
yeah, yeah.
bigly or whatever. But he also wrote one on how he approaches. He doesn't have goals. He never set goals. He has like portfolio. He has a portfolio approach that he goes after and tries different things. He was a thoughtful guy.
Yeah, well, it still is as of right now, though.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about him in the past tense, but that was kind of sad. And just another medical update, Ed, because man, you talk about history rhyming.
Mm-hmm.
In the summer of 2024, several groups of scientists published a curious finding. People vaccinated against shingles were less likely to develop dementia than their unvaccinated peers. And so for years, and we've even talked about this on various bonus shows, for years, most research into Alzheimer's disease focused on two proteins. And now they're saying that those proteins that form plaques and tangles in the brain may be a response to an infection.
Wow.
There's a doctor at Oxford, visiting professor at University of Oxford, who's championing the idea that Alzheimer is caused by a viral infection. And for decades, she has struggled to get her ideas adopted by other Alzheimer researchers.
Where have we heard this song
before? Does this
before?
sound familiar with the ulcer wars?
Yep.
It's not stress, it's a bacterial infection.
In that case, yeah.
32 million people around the world are living with Alzheimer's disease. If antiviral treatments can indeed slow or delay it or prevent it, then, the impact of this could be tremendous. Maybe even, who knows, maybe a vaccine. But I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, more motivation to get the shingles vaccine, although I'm probably toast already because I've already had shingles, so who knows?
It can come back on you, right?
No, I know. And I think I am going to do it this year. I delayed it long enough because you do go down for like a day or two after it, and you've got to get it twice 6 weeks apart.
It's still, I thought it changed to a single dose now. I thought they changed. I got two hits. And the first one it put me down for about a half a day, 3/4 of a day. Hurt like hell. And it just makes you feel weird.
All right.
I'm so glad I did it. After watching you and my dad go through that, oh, geez.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's probably too much information for our audience, but we're up against a break. Want to remind our listeners they can get a hold of Ron or me by sending an email to ask@thresholdnow.com. Please check out the website, thresholdnow.com, for the latest on what Ron and I are doing. There's a new media section that you can click at the top to see where we are in media. Ron and I do make a lot of appearances on videos and such, and also articles, so check that out. But right now, a word from our sponsors.
Sorry. All clear. Let me know when you're ready for your counting back in.
Okay, good.
Now, Ed, real quick. In Zoom, are you able to adjust your microphone volume?
Oh, let me check. Let me see here. It's like at 90%. I mean, maybe, hold on. Let me just see if I can.
It just sounds like your microphone itself might be turned up a little too high. So I was wondering.
Too high?
Yeah. If you could
okay. So let me turn that down a little bit. Okay. That's down a little bit. How does that sound?
Let me get another quick count back from 5 for you.
Sure. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, yeah, that sounds good. It just sounded like it was breathing up a lot of your breathing.
Okay. Yeah, we don't need that. Although I will say my allergies are, but again, too much information. Oh, my goodness. Who's up, Ron? I don't even know.
You are.
Okay.
You are. So you can bring us back.
Okay. We're ready, Jordan.
All right, coming back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
And we are back on the Soul of Enterprise. We're talking about Omnium Gatherum. Something Ron can't pronounce again. He loves these when I come up with these bizarre words for sure. But just another way of our stack of stuff that is overflowing and we want to get through and share with our audience. Well, this one also came in today, Ron. It's amazing. It's like, oh, I wonder what I'll talk about. And then all of a sudden today, that just got like a deluge of stuff. We're talking politics here. This is personal to me. This is from my congressman out of the 3rd District in Texas, Congressman Keith Self, who I have met and in person because he used to be county commissioner. And anyway, long story. But this is what he posted out on X yesterday after the vote that he took.
On the big, beautiful bill?
Yeah, on the big, beautiful bill. He says, this morning, I took what may be the toughest vote of my career by voting yes on the House reconciliation bill. I came to Congress to fight Washington's out-of-control spending. It has been my top priority since my first day in office. We must save America's future generations from financial ruin. Congress took President Trump's incredible policies and paired them with more Washington spending in another, quote, must-pass, end quote, bill. It does nothing to stop Washington's out-of-control spending. This bill could take us from $36 trillion in debt to $56 trillion in 10 years. It drives us towards socialized medicine by omitting significant reforms to Medicaid. It fails to repeal Biden's Green New Scam. Let me be clear. President Trump is leading the most aggressive pro-American administration perhaps in our nation's history. The issues some conservatives have in this case fall squarely at the feet of Congress. I am proud of the positive changes the House Freedom Caucus fought to get this bill. Celebrate President Trump's major America First win in this bill, but know that all our Republican-led Congress can and must do better. Can you say cognitive dissonance, Ron?
Jeez.
Are you serious?
Wow. Is he trying to spin you?
This is
insulting. That's insulting.
Absolutely insulting.
Wow.
Give me a break, sir. This is Trump's bill. Big, beautiful bill. I cannot process the cognitive dissonance necessary for me to think about how Keith Self can process this.
Yeah. It's like two different people wrote that. Slammed it together, you know. Wow. I know that bill sucks. They could have done away with the the IRA, the Inflation Readjustment Act, Reduction Act.
Yep.
Sorry, reduction, and that would have saved $1 trillion. That would have been a lot better than Doge's record.
I mean, it's too. What is happening here?
I don't know.
The House Freedom Caucus kicked out Massey because, and by the way, Massey did not vote for it. He was one of the 2 defectors.
Congress, man, they're so derelict. It's not even funny.
Congress critters. That's why they're Congress critters.
Well, this is interesting. You'll like this, Ed. This is meta. I'm not going to go through this, but it's an article by Abigail Anthony, Is Tribalism Bad? And her general thesis is, rather than shriek about the human impulse to join a tribe, it's more productive to explain which tribes are worthy of members, right? And which is true. I mean, we're tribal people, so we're going to join tribes. But, she makes this case for a tribe as long as it's worthy. And then she says otherwise, the alternative strategies end up with the self-defeating claim, join me in the fight against tribalism. Join my tribe to fight tribalism. I love that. That's good. That's good. Ed will like this. This is very meta.
It's like it's this, who organizes the anarchist convention? Who's in charge?
Who's in charge? Yeah.
Who's in charge? Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. All right. I think this is interesting. Another kind of product from AI, I suppose. But this is a website. I don't know how I came across this, but it's damusweb.it. So I think it's in Italy someplace. So introducing the world's first bag made from T-Rex leather.
Whoa.
Yeah. So thanks to a synthetic biology and advanced cell cultivation techniques, the Organoid Company and Lab Grown Leather Limited are preparing to launch a dinosaur leather product by the end of 2025, by this year. So they remember, I think we talked about they de-extincted the wolf, the dire wolf, right? From the, okay, well, what they did is they just took the skin, cells from the skin of Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then grew just the skin in a lab. So similar to the way they're doing lab-grown meat.
Right. I was thinking diamonds, but yes.
Right. So the lab-grown skin, and then, of course, then they take that and tan it like you would any other skin of an animal and make it into a leather product. Wow. So, yeah. So it's like, so you too can have a, wallet, or in this case, a bag made out of T-Rex skin. No word on pricing at this point, so we'll have to see.
Well, it's got to be a luxury thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's wild. That's wild. Well, this is interesting. I was reading an article in Fee about an Asian singer who just sold millions. She recently she passed away. I forget when she passed away, but and then it started talking about how music, and especially rock and roll, had a lot to do with bringing down communism, especially in East Germany.
Yes, the Velvet Underground, that whole
thing, and it was really interesting. So it linked to this article in World called "That Old Devil Music," and it's by Larry Schweikert. He's actually a historian. He's written a book about Reagan, I know for sure, and some others. But he pointed out that he quotes Gorbachev. Here's what Gorbachev said: "We could keep out books. We could keep out television, but we could not keep out rock and roll. Rock and roll was fundamental to bringing down communism." And it talks about why. And it made a really interesting comment. I wanted to get your reaction to this because I thought it was kind of an interesting way to express this. American music, band starts together. They start playing together. Then something different happens. You get the solo. After that, the band coalesces again. It's a musical depiction of America. We can cooperate. We can do things together, but we never lose our sense of individual freedom. Rock and roll is freedom. Bruce Springsteen played in East Berlin in 1988, the year before the wall came down. And as communists saw it, Springsteen was anti-Reagan dissident, so they were happy to let him in. The party was happy to let him in. But he talks about how the Stasi would, have to pre-approve the lyrics to rock songs before they would give them a permit. And if they sang anything different, they'd unplug their equipment. And the guys had two lists, the one they hand the Stasi, but once they got up there, they sang whatever they want. But I just thought that was really interesting that, we play together, but then the soloist goes off and does his thing, and then we come back together. Interesting observation.
Yeah, no, and that's happened a number of times. All of these, I don't know if you remember Behind the Music, Ron. There was like on an MTV thing. It was a documentary on all these bands, and there was, the formula was pretty much the same as like how the band came together, then that was the first 15 minutes. The second 15 minutes was, how they grew to be this phenomena that they were. The third 15 minutes was how, the decline of the band, and and we used to joke about the 45-minute mark that was when they broke up. Right. And then it was talked a little bit about their solo careers or the fact that they would come back together. So, this is something that is debated often in the music world, which is if it weren't for an assassin's bullet, would the Beatles have come back together at some point? And I think the answer is unequivocally yes. The amount of pressure that would have been brought to bear on it. I mean, they produced music afterwards since with the AI. They had that new song that came out about a year ago. But there's no doubt in my mind that they would have at one point had to come back together and played concerts together.
Wow.
Yeah, I really think it would have happened.
Yeah. It's an underappreciated contribution to the fall of, especially the East Berlin thing. And I do remember reading about, the protesters and everything getting braver to fight the party and the government.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure rock contributed to that. It's kind of
Right.
it's kind of a cool thing. So,
yeah, very neat. All right. Well, I have one here that's going to probably be more than 2 minutes. So let me see if I can pull something that's a little shorter first.
well, okay. Well, go ahead. We have 2 minutes. Go.
All right. I think this was going to go a little bit longer, so that's why I was.
No.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do this one. This is a pricing one. I think that you'll appreciate this. On Wednesdays now, AMC, the movie chain, is going to be decreasing their prices. Going to be special organization around the timing, right? So I just had this, and now I lost it. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So AMC is going to offer 50% off on Wednesdays to their people who are subscribed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is, I guess is an example of plussing.
Mm-hmm.
So only to stub members. So they're adding it to Wednesday. So I thought that was really interesting that, that they're using now the strategy of subscription to now talk about to add plussing type stuff. I just thought it was a very interesting example by a service company, movies, obviously, that they're or experience, I would say, right?
So that means their subscribers have to pay normally. I mean, it's kind of some type of hybrid subscription.
Yes. Well, just the 50% off adult tickets for those who are part of the AMC Stubs reward program.
Oh, it's a reward program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they already offer discounted tickets on Tuesdays, but now they've expanded it to Wednesdays. So it's just an example of plussing. So I think they get 11% or 10% off at other times as well. But Tuesdays and Wednesdays, obviously, they want to try to encourage people, especially during the summer, to come to movies during Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which is off peak because that's the days that people least go to movies. But I don't know. Again, interesting example of plussing for some of these subscriptions, because I get that question a lot. What are some examples of plussing that you've seen out there? And that was just, I thought, a good example of one. So,
all right, Ed. Well, Bastia is going to be turning in his grave. Trump was asked this question, but we're seeing as a result the ports here in the U.S., the traffic is really slowed. Trump, that's good. Question. And now thousands of dock workers and truck drivers are worried about their jobs. Trump, we lose. That means we lose less money. Trump argued that ships carrying foreign goods not arriving in U.S. ports and dock workers and truckers sitting around without any shipments to deliver was a good thing, and the intended goal of his policy. Sink the ships at sea. Come on, Trump, go all the way. Sink the ships at sea. We'll all be wealthier. This is crazy. What's that gal's name? Faraday, not Faraday. Ferretti. When
Fedesi, Bridget Fedesi.
Yeah. When isn't that when fiction is, or when reality is stranger than fiction? Or
yes. Yeah.
Something?
Yeah.
We're in Bastia land with the negative railroad and the sink the ships at sea and the candle makers petition, against the sun because it's unfair competition. Cut off your right hand.
Well, it's time for our next break here on the Soul of Enterprise, but you can join us by following us or sending us an email to asktsoe@thresholdnow.com. That's thresholdnow.com. Do also check out the Soul of Enterprise, where you can see show notes as well as previews to upcoming shows. We do still have our Patreon channel, patreon.com/TSOE, where you can listen to the show commercial-free, as well as get our bonus episodes. But right now, a word from our sponsors.
All clear. Let me know when you're ready to come back in.
Sorry, I just don't know where to go.
No, that's the only thing you could do. Thank you.
And I'll bring us back on.
Yeah, you're up.
One that's I think a little bit more fun.
Okay, and I got three small ones back to back to back, so I can knock those out too.
Okay. Oh my goodness, I just don't know.
I know some of these stories are just ridiculous, and I purged a bunch of them because they're kind of dated, but it's a never endless supply of just lunacy.
Escaped monkey from a cocaine study.
And I've got the story that Kevin wrote about Trump as a socialist.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that was an amazing article. That was an amazing piece. That was fantastic.
It was really good.
He's got a line in there that's a howler. Absolute howler.
All right, Jordan, let's do this.
Coming back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
And we are back on the Soul of Enterprise. And Ron, I got to take a break from the politics stuff. Let's have a little more fun with something. I just talked about AMC and movie theaters. This is another movie-related thing. This is from a website that I've quoted from before called Stat Significant. They do all kinds of very interesting statistical studies. This one is in what are the most influential films in movie history. So and they're looking at the network effects. So, for example, things like continued employment for that movie's actors and filmmakers, increased financial investment for the filmmaker's next project, imitation by other directors and screenwriters, imitation by studio executives, and canonization in best of lists, and then the movie winning awards and setting box office records. And that's really kind of last considered. They also used the number of backlinks, so the number of times that a film is referenced on other Wikipedia pages. Right, so that's, I think, is a really interesting one to do. So I now present for you the top 10 in reverse order most influential movies based on Wikipedia citations. This is a very interesting list, I think. Number 10, The Godfather. Number 10.
Wow. I would have put that higher. But
Yeah, I absolutely would have put that higher. Number 9, Space Jam with Michael Jordan. Now, that might have something to do with the fact that the name Michael Jordan alone and the connection to backlinks might be an influence there. So I think that that's part of it. Avatar.
That makes sense.
The Matrix is, yep. Coming in at number 6, The Birth of a Nation.
Wow. Wow, that goes back, 100 years?
Well, yeah, pretty close. I mean, that was what showed. I mean, that's the one that was Wilson administration that was pro KKK, and talked about that. But I mean, again, this is not good, bad, and different. This is influential, right? So based on what it's affected. Number 5 is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Okay, number 4, Gone with the Wind. Another interesting one. Number 3, Titanic. Number 2, Star Wars: A New Hope. And number 1, and I would not have gotten this in a gabillion million years because there are already others that I would have said, oh, that's probably number 1, which including things like Rocky, movie, just because from an imitation perspective and follow-ons to that. Was the third man. Citizen Kane. I was saying Citizen Kane would have been Wizard of Oz. It's not the Wizard of Oz, right? I would have thought that would have been influenced. It is. Jaws was another one I would have thought.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
That was huge.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Wow. But wasn't there something about that was like a breakthrough?
So yes, so groundbreaking special effects. That's the reason. Was formerly extraordinarily innovative for seamlessly doing live action and animation.
Right.
Iconic cameos from famous cartoons, including Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Donald Duck, Betty Boop, Goofy, Tweety Bird, Porky Pig, Dumbo, among others. So it's backlinked a lot because of these pages, right? And then this is Space Jam for the same reason, because that had comic book characters in it as well. It was a movie that really revitalized Disney, because if you recall, that was part of the Disney Renaissance. And that led to then Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, because of the animation technique that came on after that. And then finally, it was both a critical and commercial success, grossing over $351 million annually and winning 4 Academy Awards.
That was Eisner's, wasn't it?
Yep.
He had a hand in that.
Yep.
Yeah, Michael Eisner. Yeah.
So, but I honestly would not have. I wouldn't have had it on the top 10 if you told me what the criteria were and all this. I would have not even had that on my top 10. It was number 1, and it's a considerable number 1, like in terms of the Wikipedia citations. It had 2,642 citations. Star Wars: A New Hope 2,284, so 10% more.
Wow. It's kind of like that, that citation score that Charles Murray cites in his book, Human Accomplishments of Scholars.
Yep.
And the curve drops off like a rock between the top 5% and the rest of everybody. The top 5% get 80% of the cites, or it's an amazing skew in that statistic, and it sounds a little bit like that. But wow, that's
I thought that was interesting stuff, and it's Well,
just back on the tariffs, Ed. Just I
was trying to level things up, making fun, and you're like, no, we gotta go back to the tariffs.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I didn't know watching a James Bond movie means that we were threatening U.S. national security, because now Trump wants 100% on tariff on foreign movies. Just another dumb, stupid idea. And then the other thing is, and you notice how this has just fallen off the map. He wanted to reopen Alcatraz. And the idea came to him during a Sunday night airing of Escape from Alcatraz on PBS. Yeah, now that's the Clint Eastwood movie.
Yes, yeah.
Which I think is actually pretty good.
It is a good movie.
I like that movie. But you look at Alcatraz, first off, it's a huge tourist site, brings in $60 million a year.
I know, I was there last year.
Yeah, no, it's a cool thing to go see for sure. But it's fallen apart. It would take billions to restore the damn thing. And it's like, really? And because we want to show a strength and all this stuff, but and this was a kerfuffle for many days. I remember everybody was talking about it, and I thought, you're all missing the story. What the hell was Trump doing watching PBS? That's what killed me. That's where he saw the movie, supposedly.
It was on PBS?
Yes. The Sunday night, there was an airing of Escaped Alcatraz on PBS in Florida. And it's like, well, what the hell is he doing watching that? And then the other thing was, we haven't talked about the Pope, Leo the 14th. I thought National Review had a pretty good line. The Catholic Church has come full circle from a pope born under Caesar Augustus to one born under Mayor Daley. I thought it was a pretty good line.
That's a good line. That's a good line.
And the other one was, how many pizza joints in Chicago can now post a sign declaring the Pope ate here?
Well, and did you see that he actually attended the World Series in 2005? But how bizarre is it that he is in a clip of the crowd?
Is he really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
and and it's him and I guess his brother or something, and it's really tight on them. So and it's clearly him. It's like he's got the Chicago White Sox jersey on, and yeah. There is something, Ron, and I did think this as I'm sitting here in my New York Met hat, that is really comforting to me in knowing that the Pope is a baseball fan.
Baseball fan. Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
It's an additional blessing. As I said before, I don't know if we've talked about the solipsism, right? Which is the idea that you create the entire universe yourself, and so everything else is just the mirage, and you're the only thing in the universe.
Right.
And my line is if that's true, if solipsism is reality, and I have created this all on my own, including imagining you, Ron, I am most proud of having invented baseball. Well. That's the plus to solipsism. You came up with
well
baseball. I know, right? All the wonders in the universe. So,
say something about the name he chose.
Leo the 14th. Yes. Well, after Leo the 13th, who is the Pope for a long time. In fact, I think he had the third longest reign of any Pope. Going back, and by the way, number 2 is John Paul II. So they're and then I forget who number 1 is, or maybe John Paul II is number 1. It doesn't matter. But he had a very long reign because, let's face it, before and he started rule in the 1880s, I believe, and then finally died, I think, in 1903, 1904, something like that, or maybe later, 13. Maybe it was later.
Yeah, I think it was later
because he was the first Pope, obviously, to be filmed, and we think that he actually was the oldest human being who has ever appeared on film.
Wow.
Because there's footage of him doing a couple different things. There's like 3 or 4 45-second clips or so. But I thought what is also interesting about him and the Leo the 13th is that Leo the 13th was the author of one of the encyclicals that you and I have talked about. I don't think we've never done a show on it, and maybe we will in the future. Rerum Novarum, or Rerum Novarum, depending upon how you want to pronounce it. That people are talking about because it is the encyclical that founded what's called Catholic social teaching. Mm-hmm. And are people like, well, does this mean he's going to be a, quote, liberal? Well, the fact that the liberal conservative inside the church really makes no sense. But okay, fine. But he also, in Rerum Novarum, was very anti-socialism. And came out extraordinarily anti-socialism. Yes. Not that he blesses capitalism, because it was very pro-worker, and it was. Now you got to remember, this is the late 1800s that he's writing this in the time, and the change that has taken place. This is when we went from an agrarian society to a primary manufacturing society, and the effects of industrialization fully kicked in. Yep. And this Pope Leo the 14th clearly said, I'm taking this name to harken back to this time. And he even mentions AI as part of the reason why he took this name. I think he's going to be an extraordinarily thoughtful Pope. I think he is probably more open to looking at ideas than was Francis, especially with regard to economics. He is from the United States, although he has lived a good portion of his life in Chile. Or Peru. I'm sorry, Peru.
He's got dual citizenship.
Citizenship, in Peru. But having been brought up in the United States and knowing the United States, I think he is going to have a fundamentally different understanding of the market than did Francis. So I'm very interested in seeing what our friend Father Sirico has to say, especially knowing that Father Sirico has been in Rome, and I wonder if he's going to have some conversations with him, which would be amazing. So anyway, you asked me to say a little bit, and I went on for 4 minutes.
No, that's great, because because when we first learned of this, you said, well, he could be hearkening back to some other Leo, but no, he hearkened back to 13. Didn't even cite the encyclical.
Yes,
he did, didn't he? And then of course Pope John Paul wrote his encyclical on the 100th anniversary,
Centus Animus. Yep.
Yes, and that is another amazing document. So yeah, it's very encouraging. But unfortunately, Ed, we're up against our next break, and folks, we'd like to remind you, if you want to contact me or Ed, send us an email to asktsoe@thresholdnow.com, and do check out our Patreon channel. As Ed mentioned, you can get bonus content, and you can do that at patreon.com/TSOE. And now a word from our sponsors, including Woodard.
All clear. Let me know when you're ready for your counting back in.
Awesome. You're up, Ed, so you can bring us back.
All right. Give me a second or two here. Okay. Okay. I think I'm ready.
Coming back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
And we are back on the Soul of Enterprise. We're talking Omnium Gatherum, our Mishmash, Miscellany, hodgepodge of stuff that we're just getting through. And Ron, this next story I want to talk about, I'm sure you've seen. I don't know if you've had a chance to digest it in detail. I honestly have not digested it in detail either, but I did want to point it out and maybe start a conversation with it. It involves two of our previous guests. One is Scott Lincecum. The other is Jim Pethokoukis, because this is a recent Scott Lincecum piece in the Dispatch where he wrote a story. What if AI means more jobs, not fewer? And so here's reading now, quoting from the article. Thus far, AI's effect on the overall U.S. employment has been limited, but new research shows why the new technology, at least in the currently foreseeable future form, is less likely to replace humans entirely and more likely to supplement our existing work and maybe even lead to more workers overall. According to one recent paper, many firms using AI to perform tasks previously done by human workers, but the impact on employment is modest because few firms change their overall employment levels. Of the firms that did hire or fire people, moreover, a slightly higher fraction report an employment increase rather than a decrease, and the authors expect similar trends in the future. Another study shows that AI chatbots have had no significant effect on earnings or recorded hours in any occupation because the tasks that AI has eliminated were offset by new job tasks, including for some workers who weren't using the tools themselves. So really interesting. He then quotes from Jim Pethokoukis, an example where AI predicted AI would replace medical imaging, but instead had the opposite effect. This is at the Mayo Clinic, where radiologists' numbers have jumped 55% since then. AI has become a powerful assistant rather than a job killer. The technology handles the routine tasks while the doctors retain decision-making authority. Though AI excels at spotting specific abnormalities, it can't be replaced. It can't replace radiologists' comprehensive role, such as consulting with other physicians and talking with patients and applying experienced judgment.
Yeah, that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how the ATM actually expanded employment in banks because they opened more branches and hired more tellers.
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly.
It's so hard to tease out those effects because, I don't know what the sample sizes in those studies were, but if you're studying companies that are already very prosperous and therefore probably investing in AI and using it, hiring more people, there could be a lot of different causes and effect there,
Right. Well, and then he makes a really interesting point too about changes in just the names of occupations. So, for example, he talks about the number since like in 1980, the number of computer programmers has remained fairly stagnant, around 50,000 plus or minus. Okay. And you're like, how is that? How is that possible? Well, because there's still the title computer programmer. If you include, and they started only tracking this in 2000, software developers, well, there's 2.5 million of those. Right. Now, how is a software developer different from a computer programmer? I'm not quite sure.
But how's that different from an app developer?
Right.
Yeah, this is one of the problems with just counting. You would think counting 1, 2. No, because to count, you have to categorize.
Yep.
And it's the categorization that gets you in trouble.
Yeah. So it's a great piece. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend going back and giving it a look. So.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Ed, I have to do this because it's Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is now blaming the real public enemies, Donald Trump and somebody called Amy Bublak for homelessness. He says, I've always been a hard-headed pragmatist. He talks about, and then they went and dug into his record and say, well, let's see the pragmatist Newsom. He's increased the state's budget by 50% since 2018. He's decimated the state's oil industry. We've got the highest gasoline in the nation. He's poured money into a high-speed rail 5 years after it was supposed to be completed, hasn't laid a foot of track, though they've spent $33 billion. $10 billion extended to Medicaid benefits to illegal immigrants, $24 billion more than the annual budgets of 22 states. And he's got the worst homeless crisis in the nation. But he's picking on this mayor of this town called Turlock in the Central Valley, Amy Bublak, and he's blaming her for the homeless crisis. He says, how do these people get reelected? Look at these encampments. They're a disgrace. They've been there years. They've been there years and years and years and years. People are dying. Kids are being born. It's almost as if he hasn't been governor or lieutenant governor since 2012. This guy is, in 2004, when he was elected mayor of San Francisco, he rolled in and said, oh, we're going to solve the homeless problem, right? And by 2010, in the lieutenant governor's job, he had spent $1.5 billion on homeless, and it actually climbed. In 2014, he reduced many felonies to misdemeanors, and which was a great business model for petty thieves. Homelessness sprawled. Goes on and on. He spent another $24 billion since 2018. Homeless went from 130,000 to 187,000, and then he vetoed a bill that called for an annual audit of spending on homelessness. And he says, I fully support efforts to increase accountability, but similar measures are already in place. And then he's got the nerve to go out there. This is a quote. Enough of the rhetoric. I'm serious. Enough of the rhetoric. People are dying in this state. It's a disgrace. It's one of the principal reasons people are so angry. They don't trust politicians. They don't like what they see. Well, you've been in there since. I mean,
but this is the Keith Self thing that I mean, this is this. Are you the cognitive dissonance that must be the energy spent on that? And by the way, if you haven't listened to the conversation that Barry Weiss had with Andrew Cuomo, it's the same freaking thing.
Oh my! Yeah, I was going to ask you if you listened to that. I couldn't believe that interview. That guy has got but we were following the federal guidelines. And, oh wow! But I'm the only one with executive experience, and we hire these clowns. They're maybe great legislatures, but they're not executives, which is true. Which is why I don't like senators for president. But geez, Cuomo. Oh, he's going to win, isn't he?
He is going to win. Yep. He is. He is.
Just like I think Harris has got it for governor if she wants it. If she
Yeah.
runs, I think she's the lock. I do. I hope I'm wrong, but I think she is. Because this state's lost its mind if it keeps this clown in there.
The cities are a mess. But anyway, Ron. Wow, there we go. Okay. Did we get? Have we unloaded enough? Or
No.
has the catharsis? No.
No.
The
We got to do a bonus episode. I got
oh my god.
a bulging stack here still to go.
All right.
Unbelievable.
Well, those of you who are subscribed to the Patreon channel get to hear the bonus. The rest of you are like, "Oh, glad I'm not doing that." Good to know. But Ron? What do we got coming on next week?
Next weekend, I'm so excited. We have another doctor. I know that's your favorite theme, and he's written a book called Your Body, Your Choice. It's Dr. Jeffrey Singer from the Cato Institute. And it's a great book. I've already read it, so I'm really looking forward to conversing with him. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he is fantastic. Very libertarian. Can't wait to talk to him, Mike. But I'll see you in 167 hours.
This has been The Soul of Enterprise, Business and the Transformation Economy, sponsored by Woodard, building your ideal practice with coaching, education, community, and resources. Join us next week, folks, on Friday at noon Pacific time. In the meantime, check us out at thesoulofenterprise.com. Also, if you want to contact me or Ed, send an email to asktsoe@thresholdnow.com. Thanks for listening, folks. Have a great weekend.
All clear. Great show.
Great.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks, Jordan.
Hope you all have a great Memorial weekend.
You too. Talk to you next week.